students, right? So students, we have completed the second chapter of the reproduction unit, right? That is sexual reproduction in the flowering plants. Today we are going to start with the third chapter of the reproduction unit, that is human reproduction. Students, this is a very important chapter from your NEET point of view also, as well as from your NCERT point of view also, right? What we are going to study in this chapter, students, we are going to study about the male reproductive system, the female reproductive system. We are going to study about the process of gametogenesis, that is how the sperms are formed, that is called as spermatogenesis. Then how the egg is formed, that process is called as oogenesis. Then we are going to study the process of fertilization, how fertilization happens. Then there is cleavage, then there is implantation process, right? So there are different phases that step by step we are going to study. Yes, students, right? So students, we know that humans are unisexual organisms, right? Which means that they possess a single reproductive system, either male or female reproductive system. And humans are having sexual dimorphism, which means that males and females can be differentiated. Why? Because of the presence of reproductive organs. Males have separate male reproductive organs, females have separate female reproductive organs, and these organs and the hormones which are produced by these organs gives them a special male secondary sexual characteristics and female secondary sexual characteristics. That is why we can differentiate the males and females, that is sexual dimorphism. We are going to start with the topic that is male reproductive system. Right, this is the first topic, that is male reproductive system. Right, this male reproductive system consists of primary sex organ and accessory sex organs. Right? The primary sex organs in males is testes. And how many testes are present? There is a pair of testes. Right? So a pair of testes are present in males. Why these testes are called as primary sex organs? What is the function of this testes? So it is having two important functions, right? First is gamete formation, and the male gamete which is formed is sperm. And the second function is secretion of hormones, right? And the male hormone, right, is testosterone. Because this pair of testes are involved in the production of male gametes, that is sperms, as well as in the production of the male sex hormone, that is testosterone. That is why testes is considered as a primary sex organ in case of males, and a pair of testes, that is two testes, are present in males. Which are the accessory sex organs? Then those are further divided into different classifications. There are accessory ducts, accessory glands, and there is external genitalia. Right, so there are accessory ducts, glands, and external genitalia. Which are the accessory ducts in case of males, right? Then we'll start from so this ducts, what is the function of this ducts? The function of this ducts is the conduction of the sperms. So we'll take a pathway only, right? So there are retitestis, then there are vasa efferentia, then there is vas deferens, right? There is epididymis, then there is urinogenital duct, right? So these are the ducts which are accessory ducts. Retitestis, vasa efferentia, vasa deferens, epididymis and urinogenital duct, right? Then which are the accessory glands which are present, right? Then there is a pair of seminal vesicles, then there is prostate gland, and there are Cowper's gland, also called as bulbourethral gland. Yes students, so these are the glands which are present. Seminal vesicles, prostate gland and bulbourethral gland, also called as Cowper's gland. In females, there are bulbovestibular glands. In males, it is called as Cowper's gland or bulbourethral gland. And the external genitalia is penis, right? This penis is external genitalia which is helping in the process of insemination. We will study it in our further lectures that what is the process of insemination, right? So this is the basic idea of the male reproductive system. It consists of primary sex organ and accessory sex organs, right? Primary sex organ is testis. Why is it considered as a primary sex organ? A pair of testis is present because it is involved in two important functions. First is male gamete formation, that is sperm, and second is production and secretion of male hormones, that is testosterone, which is the main male hormone. There are accessory organs, accessory ducts, glands and external genitalia. Which are the accessory ducts? So what is the function of this ducts? The function of this ducts is conduction of the sperms, right? Those are retitestis, vasa efferentia, epididymis, vasa deferens and urinogenital duct. Which are the accessory glands which are present? Seminal vesicles are present, prostate gland is present and Cowper's gland or bulbourethral gland. And which is the external genitalia in case of males? It is penis, which is helping in the process of insemination, right students? So now we will take all these topics one by one, right? Okay. Okay, so where are testes present, right? First we will start with testis, right? A pair of testes, right? What are these testes? These are small oval shaped organs, right? Where are these testes present? These are present in scrotum, right? So testes are present in scrotum. What is scrotum? Scrotum is a sac-like structure. Present outside the abdominal cavity, right? So a pair of testes are present in a sac-like structure that is called as scrotum. So scrotum is a sac-like structure which possesses a pair of testes. Testes are small oval shaped organs, right? Where is this scrotum present? It is present outside the abdominal cavity, right? It is attached with the body, but it is present outside the abdominal cavity. Now, why is it present outside the abdominal cavity? What is the need? Right? Because all our organs are present inside the cavities, right? Inside the body. But this scrotum, which possesses the main sex organ, that is testis, is present outside the abdominal cavity. What is the need for it? Right? So students, we know that our general body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. Clear? Right? But for the process of spermatogenesis means production of sperm, right? This process of spermatogenesis requires 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius temperature, lower than body temperature. Right, so it requires 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius temperature, lower than the body temperature, which means if the body temperature is around 37 degrees Celsius, then the temperature which is required for the spermatogenesis, where is this process going on? This process is going on in the testes, right? It requires 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius less, which means it requires 34.5 to 35 degrees Celsius of temperature, right? Then only this process is possible, and that is why scrotum is present outside, so that it can maintain this temperature, that is 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius temperature, lower than the body temperature. This is clear, students? Very important. Remember this temperature, right? So why scrotum is present outside the abdominal cavity which possesses testes? Because testes is going to produce sperms, and this process does not require the body temperature. In fact, it requires the temperature which is lower than the body temperature, right? How much lower? So it should require 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius lower temperature, and that is why the testes which are present in scrotum is present outside the abdominal cavity to maintain this much of lower temperature. Students, during the fetal development, in the beginning, the testes are produced within the abdominal cavity only. So testes are present within the abdominal cavity only. Then this testis at the end of the fetal development is going to descend down into the scrotum from the abdominal cavity. Right? Are you getting it? Right? And that is why it is very important to descend down. Right? We will quickly study the structure of scrotum and the structure of testis. Right? So remember this. It requires 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius temperature, lower than the body temperature. Yes. So we have to study the structure of scrotum. Right? So as we have discussed earlier, students, scrotum is a sac-like structure. It is a pouch-like structure. Right? So this is scrotum. Right? And this sac is divided into two parts by a septum, right? So these are the sacs, these are the scrotal sacs, and this is divided by septum. So this is septum and this are the scrotal sacs, right? As we have discussed earlier, students, right? that the testes are produced, those are developed in the fetus in the abdominal cavity during 7th month of fetal development. Students, very important, during 7th month of fetal development, this testis descends from the abdominal cavity into the scrotal sac. So there should be some canal to carry the testis from abdominal cavity towards scrotal sac. So that canal through which the testis is descending from the abdominal cavity, that canal through which the testis is going to descend is called as inguinal canal, right? So what is it called as? Inguinal canal. So testis is going to descend from inguinal canal from the abdominal cavity into the scrotal sac during 7th month of fetal development, right? Now these testes are a paired oval structures, each present in the scrotal sac. One part of the scrotal sac, right? One scrotal sac is slightly lower than the other scrotal sac. Let me draw it like that way. So this is slightly lower. So position of one testis also is slightly lower than the other testis. Yes, clear students? Now this testis is attached with the skin of this scrotal sac by a fibrous cord, right? That fibrous cord which provides attachment of the testis with the scrotal sac, right? It should be firmly attached with the skin of the scrotal sac, right? That fibrous cord is called as gubernaculum, right? So what is gubernaculum? It is a fibrous cord connecting testis with the skin of scrotal sac is called as gubernaculum. Yes, students, right? Then what else is present, right? So this testis is covered by layers. So which are the layers which are covering the testis? One more thing, this sac-like structure, that is scrotal sac, the cavity of the scrotal sac is called as hydrocele, right? So it is called as hydrocele. What is hydrocele? Cavity of, sorry, it is called as vaginal coelom, right? So what is vaginal coelom? It is the cavity of scrotal sac. The cavity is called as vaginal coelom and that will possess testis. This testis is also covered by 3 layers. So say this is testis. It is covered by 3 layers. Which are those 3 layers? So the innermost layer is called as tunica vasculosa, right? So innermost layer is tunica vasculosa. That is the inner layer. Then the middle layer, right? The middle layer is called as tunica albuginea. Middle layer is called as tunica albuginea. And the outermost layer which is covering the testis, the outermost layer is called as tunica vaginalis. It is called as tunica vaginalis. Yes, students. So there are 3 layers present in the testis from inner to outer side, right? So these layers are from inner to outer side, right? These are the layers of testis. So the innermost layer is tunica vasculosa, The middle layer is tunica albuginea and the outermost layer is tunica vaginalis. This testis is present in the cavity of the scrotal sac called as vaginal coelom. Testis descends from the abdominal cavity during 7 months of fetal development through inguinal canal, and it is firmly attached with the skin of the scrotal sac by the fibrous cord, that is gubernaculum. Right? Epididymis. Epididymis is present on the posterior part of the testis, but as we cannot see it, we are drawing it on the sideways, right? So from testis arises a tube, a coiled tube-like structure from its posterior part, which is called as epididymis. Okay, yes. And one more thing, what is the muscle of scrotum? Muscle of scrotum. The muscle of the scrotum, which means the muscle which is present in the scrotum, is called as Darto's muscle. Yes, what is it called as? It is called as Darto's muscle. It is the muscle of the scrotum. What is the function of this muscle? Right? It contracts. So there is contraction of this muscle in winter and relaxation in summer. What does that mean? Right? So as students, we have already studied that why testis is present in the scrotal sac. What is the need? Right? So the need is that the temperature in the scrotal sac is maintained 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius lower than the body temperature, and that is required for the process of spermatogenesis. That is why testis is present in the scrotal sac. But how scrotum is going to help in maintaining that temperature? So because of this Darto's muscle, right? This Darto's muscle helps in maintaining the scrotal temperature. Helps in maintaining scrotal temperature. So what happens, students? The muscles are going to contract in winter. We know that during winter season it is cold, right? So the temperature is low. So the temperature of the scrotum will be lower even than it is required. So what the Darto's muscle will do? They will contract. When the Darto's muscle will contract, this scrotal sac will move towards the body, and it is going to absorb the heat from the body to normalize its temperature, which is required for spermatogenesis. Whereas in summers, right, summers there is lots of heat, right? So the temperature of scrotal sac might exceed the temperature that is required. So the scrotal sac has to cool down, right? So that is also helped by Darto's muscle. It will relax. Relaxation of the Darto's muscle will bring the scrotal sac away from the body, and that is why the scrotal sac is going to lose the heat and it is not going to absorb the heat, right? So this Darto's muscle is the muscle of scrotum, which is helping in maintaining the temperature of the scrotal sac, right, students? So that is about the structure of scrotum. A sac-like structure divided by septum. One sac is slightly lower than the other sac. It is the cavity of the scrotal sac is called as vaginal coelom. It is filled with the tissue called as hydrocele, right? This testis descends from the abdominal cavity through inguinal canal. It is attached with the skin of the scrotal sac by a cord, that is gubernaculum, right? Then testis is covered by 3 layers. From inner to outer side, it is tunica vasculosa. Middle layer is tunica albuginea, and the outermost layer is tunica vaginalis, right? The muscle of scrotum is called as Darto's muscle. It is helping in maintaining the scrotal temperature 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius below the body temperature. One more thing, students, very important, is cryptorchidism, right? Cryptorchidism. what is cryptorchidism? It is the failure of testis to descend from abdominal cavity during 7th month of fetal development, right? That is called as cryptorchidism. What is it? So as we have studied, the testis will be present in the abdominal cavity and it is going to descend into the scrotal sac. If this testis fail to descend and it remains in the abdominal cavity, that condition is called as cryptorchidism. So in this case, the scrotal sac will be empty, the testis will be present in the abdominal cavity, the male will be sterile male because the testis will not be able to produce sperms, right? Because it doesn't have the required temperature for spermatogenesis. So the male will be sterile male. Of course, it can be treated, it can be corrected by the surgery, right? So it can be corrected by surgery, right? There is one more condition called as inguinal hernia. What is it? You might have heard about hernia in your layman words, right? So what is inguinal hernia, right? So in the abdomen part there is small intestine, right? So what happens, students, that a part of small intestine will descend from the inguinal canal into the scrotal sac. That condition is called as inguinal hernia. So what is inguinal hernia? A part of intestine is going to come out, protrude through the inguinal canal into the scrotal sac. It's called as inguinal hernia. And what is cryptorchidism? Failure of the testis to descend from the abdominal cavity into the scrotal sac is called as cryptorchidism. Right? Our next topic will be internal structure of the testis. Hello students. Right? So our next topic is internal structure of testis. So testis is oval shaped, right, with a length of 4 to 5 centimeters and width of 2 to 3 centimeters, right? It is oval shaped structure. Its length is 4 to 5 centimeter and its width is 2 to 3 centimeters. So it is a very small structure, right? If we will see the internal structure of testis, so if we will draw an enlarged diagram of testis, right? So say this is testis, right? Oval shape, right? Now this testis, 1 minute. This testis is covered by layers and we know the layers of it from outside to inside. The layers are from inside to outside. The layers are tunica vasculosa, tunica albuginea and tunica vaginalis. Right? Now this testis is divided into around 250 to 300 compartments. Those compartments are called as testicular lobules. So say this testis is divided into such 200 to 250 compartments, right? So these are the compartments. So testis is divided into 250 to 300 compartments, right? Those are called as testicular lobules. So how many testicular lobules are there? 250 to 300, right? So this entire testis, each testis is internally divided into many parts, compartments. How many compartments? 250 to 300 compartments are present. Those compartments are called as testicular lobules. So say this is each compartment of the testis, right? So these are the compartments which are present. Now this single compartment, each compartment will possess coiled tubes, right? Those coiled tubes, right? So each compartment will possess highly coiled tubes, right? This highly coiled tubes are called as seminiferous tubules, right? So this highly coiled tubes are called as seminiferous tubules. So what we have to mention, each compartment, right? Each compartment possesses 1, 2, 3 highly coiled tubes, right? Those are called as seminiferous tubules, right? So say this is one compartment, it possesses 3 seminiferous tubules. This is another compartment, say it also possesses the seminiferous tubules, right? So all the compartments possesses minimum of 1 and maximum of 3 highly coiled tubes, and these tubes are called as seminiferous tubules, right? So let me draw it so that you can get it. So these are the tubules. So how many seminiferous tubules are present in one testis? Maximum 900 tubules are present in one testis. Say if there are 300 compartments in a testis, each compartment possesses 3 seminiferous tubules. So any testis can possess maximum of 300 seminiferous tubules. This is clear, students? So we are seeing the longitudinal section of a testis. We have cutted the testis longitudinally. So what we are seeing inside? We are seeing that testis is divided into many compartments. Those are called as testicular lobules. 250 to 300 lobules are present. Each lobule will possess highly coiled tubes. Those tubes are called as seminiferous tubules, 1 to 3 in number in each lobule. And in between these tubules, right, will be tissue, right? This tissue is called as interstitial tissue. So this tissue is called as interstitial tissue. Interstitial tissue is present in between the seminiferous tubules. Now all these tubules will combine and join to form a network of tubules, just like a network of capillaries, right? So all of these tubules are combining to form a network of capillaries, right? That network of capillaries let me draw some of the compartments over here also, right? And these are the tubules which are arising from it. Right? So this is forming a network of compartment. This network of compartment is called as retetestes. And from this retetestes is going to arise fine tubules. Right? So this fine tubules which are arising from retetestes is called as vasa efferentia. This much is clear, right? So students, male gametes, that is sperms, are produced by seminiferous tubules. From seminiferous tubules, these sperms are going to travel into this compartment, right? This is the compartment. This is retetestes. So from seminiferous tubules, the sperms travel into the network, that is retetestes, and from there it travels into this fine tubules called as vasa efferentia. Right? So that is the pathway of travel of sperm, that is from seminiferous tubules to retetestes to vasa efferentia, and from vasa efferentia the sperms are going to travel into epididymis. Right? So from vasa efferentia is going to arise a coiled tube-like structure. This is called as epididymis, right? So this part, this coiled tube is called as epididymis. Clear, right? So this is the internal structure of testis, right? Testis is divided into compartments. Those are testicular lobules. Each compartment possesses 1 to 3 seminiferous tubules. These tubules will combine to form a network of tubules called as retetestes, and from this retetestes is arising 10 to 12 fine tubules called as vasa efferentia, and these tubules are going to drain its content into again one more coiled tube, actually which is present on the posterior side of the testis. This coiled tube is called as epididymis. So that is the pathway of travel of the sperm from seminiferous tubules to retetestes to vasa efferentia and then to epididymis. Right? Now we have to study about the internal structure of seminiferous tubules. Students, so we have studied about the longitudinal section of the testis. We know that there are seminiferous tubules present in each testicular compartment. Each compartment will possess 1 to 3 seminiferous tubules. So what is the structure of that seminiferous tubules that we have to study, right? So students, say students, this is one testicular compartment. This is one testicular compartment, right? And in this compartment, so we have cutted it, we are seeing the transverse section. Say this compartment possesses 3 seminiferous tubules. That we are seeing a transverse section of the seminiferous tubule, right? So say these are the 3 seminiferous tubules which are present, right? The tissue which is present in between these seminiferous tubules, right? The tissue which is present in between the seminiferous tubules is called as interstitial tissue. Interstitial tissue. Now what will these seminiferous tubules possess? it will possess two types of cells, right? The first cells are cuboidal cells, right? So those are the cuboidal cells. Students, in your 11th standard, when you were studying animal tissues, you had studied about germinal epithelium, right? What is germinal epithelium? It is the epithelium which is going to give rise to gametes. Gametes formation occur. So this is nothing but germinal epithelium, and the cells of germinal epithelium, if you recollect, are of cuboidal type. So these are the cuboidal cells which are present, right? These cuboidal cells are called as germ cells, right? Those are called as germ cells. And what is the function of germ cells? The function of germ cells is spermatogenesis, right? That is production of sperms by meiosis, right? So there are two types of divisions. Mitosis is an equational division. Meiosis is a reductional division which gives rise to gametes, right? So not all the cells of our body are capable of doing meiotic division. These germinal epithelial cells are the cells which are having the property of undergoing meiotic division to produce male gametes, that is sperms, and that process is called as spermatogenesis. But in between these germ cells are there some more cells. Those cells are pyramidal shaped cells, right? These pyramidal shaped cells which are present in between the germ cells, right? Those are called as Sertoli cells, right? So what are Sertoli cells? Sertoli cells are the pyramidal shaped cells which are present in between the germ cells. These cells are called as Sertoli cells, right? These cells are Sertoli cells. Students, if you recollect the structure of an anther wall, we have studied that the innermost layer is tapetum, and the cells of the tapetum are pyramidal shaped cells, and the function is to provide nourishment to the developing microspores. Similarly, these Sertoli cells are also pyramidal shaped cells, and those are also called as nurse cells. And the name itself says nurse cells means to provide nourishment. So the function of these Sertoli cells is to provide nourishment to developing male gametes, and it is having one more function, that is spermiation. This you will study when you will study the process of spermatogenesis. Then students, so this each seminiferous tubule possesses two types of cells. The one is germ cells. The function of germ cells is to produce male gametes, and the other cells are Sertoli cells or nurse cells, and the function of this nurse cells is to provide nourishment to the developing male gametes. So germ cells are present and Sertoli cells are present. Then students, in this interstitial tissue also there is present of mass of scattered cells, right? This tissue also possesses some cells. These cells are called as Leydig's cells or interstitial cells, and the function of these cells is production of testosterone hormone, right? So this Leydig cells, if you remember the endocrine system, then we have studied that Leydig cells are producing the testosterone hormone, and these are producing testosterone hormone, secreting testosterone hormone under the influence of luteinizing hormone, right? So this are the Leydig cells which are present in the interstitial tissue. That is why those are also called as interstitial cells, and the function is production of testosterone hormone. So students, in each seminiferous tubule you will find, right, in each testicular compartment you will find three types of cells: germ cells who undergo meiosis to produce sperms, Sertoli cells or nerve cells which provides nourishment, and Leydig cells which are going to produce testosterone hormone. Students, one more thing is left, that is the structure of epididymis and the parts of epididymis, right? Just note it down, these points. Students, we have studied that testis is an oval shaped structure, and from the posterior side of testis arises a coiled tube that is called as epididymis. This epididymis is a highly coiled tube. We cannot draw it on the posterior side, that is why we are drawing it sideways, right? So this is a highly coiled tube which is called as epididymis. Right? This is epididymis, right? It is highly coiled, around 6 meters in length, right? It is so coiled, but if we will extend it, its length is around 6 meters. So students, the sperms, the male gametes are produced in seminiferous tubules, then they are taken to retitestis. From retitestis, those are taken to the fine tubules. Those tubules are vasa efferentia. So these are vasa efferentia. From vasa efferentia, the sperms are carried into epididymis, and from epididymis arises again a tube. This tube is called as vasa deferens. Now this epididymis is divided into three parts, right? This part is the head part of epididymis, which is called as caput epididymis. The middle part is the body of epididymis, which is called as corpus epididymis, and the lower part is the tail of epididymis, which is called as cauda epididymis. Yes students, so sperms are produced in seminiferous tubules. Those are taken into retitestis. From retitestis into vasa efferentia. From vasa efferentia into epididymis. From epididymis into vasa deferens. Epididymis is highly coiled, 6 meters in length, divided into three parts: head, body and tail. Head is called as caput epididymis, body is called as corpus epididymis, and tail is called as cauda epididymis. Right? Our next topic will be that we have to study all other parts of the male reproductive system.